You ever meet someone who believes the world and everyone's property in it belongs to her bratty kid? That's my neighbor, the HOA president's best friend. Known around here as Karen, she decided my brand new jet ski should be her son's. Community resource. When I refused, she stormed off, convinced she could bully me into handing it over. The next week, she brought the HOA, then the cops. What she didn't know is that my brother-in-law works in the state attorney's office, and she was about to pick the worst possible target for her, entitlement, because when she tried to steal what's mine, I turned the entire legal system right back at her. I bought that jet ski as a gift to myself, a Yamaha VX Cruiser, deep blue paint that shimmered like glass in the sun. I parked it proudly in my driveway, still strapped to the trailer, wrapped in new car scent and freedom. After busting my back for years in construction management, finally I had something fun to show for it. Saturday afternoon, I'm tightening the straps when she materializes. Karen, blonde bob cut like a ruler, oversized sunglasses hiding eyes that judged everything they saw. Her arms crossed, lips pursed so hard the lipstick creased. "So," she said, chin tilted high, "when will my son be using that?" I actually laughed. "Your son?" "Never, it's mine." Her expression sharpened like she'd never heard the word no before. "We live in a planned community," she snapped, gesturing with manicured nails at the bay behind our homes. "Shared amenities. You can't just keep a resource like that to yourself." "It's not a playground slide," I replied. "I paid for it." She huffed, shifting weight to her hip, the universal sign of a brewing tantrum. "The HOA will hear about this. You need to make accommodations." I brushed her off, literally kept tightening the strap. Her voice kept rising, but I tuned it out, until her son came riding up on his bike, a wiry kid with a smug grin. "Mom, are we taking it out today?" he asked, pointing directly at my jet ski. "Oh, we will," she said, glaring at me, "one way or another." That was the moment the air changed. A cold certainty ran through me. This wasn't just neighbor annoyance. This was a challenge. Later that night, I found a neon yellow violation notice taped onto the jet ski, HOA letterhead, claiming it was improper recreational storage. First offense, $200 fine. The ink wasn't even dry. I stared at that paper under the porch light, jaw locked. That jet ski wasn't going anywhere, except into the water by my decision. If Karen wanted a war, she just declared one. The next morning, I rolled the jet ski into my garage and shut the door like sealing a vault. If they wanted a fight over improper storage, fine. I'd make it invisible, out of sight, out of their entitled hands. But I wasn't just defending a toy. I was defending the principle. You don't get to take what you didn't earn. I grabbed my phone and hit FaceTime. My brother-in-law, Miguel, appeared. Dress shirt, office background, the state attorney's seal behind him. He's not the kind of guy who minces words. "What's up? You look like you swallowed a nail." I angled the camera at the HOA violation. "They're trying to extort this off me. Neighbor thinks her kid owns my stuff." Miguel smirked. HOA bullies, my favorite. Keep every notice they give you, every conversation. We'll make them choke on their own rules. That gave me clarity. I wasn't going to wait to get cornered. I'd set the rules of engagement. By noon, I'd printed out the entire HOA charter, highlighted every section about recreational vehicles, storage, and common area access. There was nothing saying I couldn't store a jet ski on my own property. I walked to the HOA office, a small room beside the clubhouse. Inside, the HOA vice president, a guy named Brian who always looked uncomfortable in his too tight polos, was punching numbers into a calculator. He froze when he saw the folder in my hand. "I'm here to appeal this violation," I said, voice steady. "Show me the clause I broke." Before Brian could answer, the door creaked open, and there she was, Karen. Smile like she'd won the lottery. "That notice is staying," she declared. "Either you agree to shared use, or—" I stepped closer, just enough to break her little bubble of authority. "I don't share what I buy," I said calmly, "and if you keep harassing me, I'll pursue legal action for property interference and targeted abuse." Her eyes flickered. She wasn't expecting pushback this early. "You think you can threaten the HOA?" she scoffed. I slid Miguel's business card across the counter, State Attorney's Office in bold letters. "No," I said, locking eyes with her. "I don't threaten, I prepare." As I walked out, I glanced back once. Karen's face was drained of color, but her son's tantrum-level screech echoed through the lobby. "Mom, I want the jet ski." His demand wasn't going away, and neither was she. 3 days passed. No new notices, no pounding at the door, just silence, the kind that feels too intentional. I almost believed Karen had slunk away to find someone else to terrorize. Then Saturday morning hit. I opened my garage to take the jet ski for its maiden run, and saw nothing. The trailer hitch sat bare, empty. My pulse dropped into slow motion. I stepped into the driveway, scanning, breath sharp, and there, at the community dock, my jet ski bobbed on the water, her son straddling it like a stolen crown jewel. Karen stood beside him, arms lifted like she had granted him the ocean. My jaw locked so tight I felt something click. I stormed toward the dock. "Get off, that's mine." Karen turned, smug victory oozing from her grin. "It's already in the common area. The community may use it. The board approved." "You stole my property," I said. My voice didn't rise. It dropped low, controlled, more dangerous. The kid revved the engine, cackling, the sound of my brand-new machine being abused. It made my fists clench. "Touch him," Karen warned, "and I'll have the police here in minutes." She thought I cared about her threats. I pulled out my phone and hit record. "You moved my jet ski without permission," I said clearly. "The HOA authorized it," she repeated, chin raised. "Perfect." 2 minutes later, the first squad car rolled in, flashing lights reflecting off the water like jagged glass. Karen waved frantically like she had summoned backup. The officer, tall with weary eyes, approached. "What's going on?" Karen jumped in. "He's intimidating my son on community property." I cut her off. "That's my jet ski. She illegally entered my garage or my driveway to take it. I want to file a theft report." The officer's gaze narrowed. "Did you remove his property?" "It wasn't being used correctly," she snapped. "The HOA decided—" "The HOA doesn't override state law," he replied flatly. Her face cracked. Another officer helped the kid off the jet ski and guided him back to the dock. The boy screamed, demanded. Karen's voice hit a screech that could peel paint. The first officer leaned close to me. "Do you want to press charges?" Behind him, Karen stared, lips trembling, realizing her power was evaporating. I smiled, slow and calm. "Oh yes," I said, "I absolutely do." The officers escorted Karen to the patrol car as she shouted about lawsuits, discrimination, anything that might stick. But the door shut, cutting her rant in half. She had finally learned the first lesson. I wasn't the neighbor to mess with. But she wasn't done, not by a long shot. Karen posted bail the same day. Loud, indignant, and somehow even angrier. But she still had to face a criminal hearing for property theft and trespassing. And the HOA? They scrambled like rats on a sinking ship, trying to distance themselves from the mess they helped create. The next board meeting was packed. Neighbors shoulder to shoulder, buzzing with the scent of scandal. I walked in wearing a simple button-down shirt, calm and collected. Karen sat near the front, pale foundation barely hiding the stress lines that had carved into her face over the past week. Her son slouched beside her, arms crossed, no smirk left. Brian, the VP, cleared his throat into the microphone. "This meeting will address the unauthorized relocation of personal property by a board-affiliated resident." His wording was diplomatic. Too diplomatic. I stood. "Let's call it what it is. Theft. You allowed someone to steal from me because she thought she deserved what I paid for. And when she got caught, you pretended you had nothing to do with it." People murmured. Karen's jaw quivered. Fury mixed with humiliation. "She lied to all of you," I continued. "Claimed the board approved it, but there's no motion, no vote, just entitlement." Miguel stepped forward then. Suit sharp, eyes sharper. My office is prepared to pursue civil damages if the board doesn't remove Mrs. Parker from any position or committee and issue a formal written apology. Karen whipped toward him like she just recognized the executioner. You can't. He held out a folder. We can. We will. Silence hooked the room. Brian swallowed hard. The board moves to permanently suspend Mrs. Parker from all HOA involvement and commits to revising policy to ensure no resident is targeted in this manner again. The motion passed unanimously. Karen stood like she might explode. This is a witch hunt. I leaned just enough to meet her eyes. You tried to take something I earned. You tried to bully me. Now you're crying because the consequences finally landed. She sputtered, grabbed her son's hand, and stormed out. Not a shred of power left in her wake. As the meeting adjourned, neighbors approached me with claps on the shoulder and quiet apologies for ever doubting me. But I wasn't here for their approval. I went home, opened the garage, and looked at the jet ski. Polished, untouched since its rescue. I ran my hand along the hull, the blue paint cool under my palm. This wasn't just a toy. It was proof. You don't let tyrants win. Not even petty ones with sunglasses and board connections. I rolled it out toward the bay, the sun glinting off the water, finally ready for my first ride. War over, jet ski mine, silence restored. And Karen? She'll think twice before declaring anything belongs to her again. I thought it was over. That was my first mistake. The morning after that board meeting, I walked outside to check my mail, and found my driveway spray-painted. Huge neon letters. Thief. Bully. Be selfish. Paint dripped down the concrete like a wound that wouldn't close. A rock lay beside the mailbox with a taped note. You destroyed our community. Payback. I didn't need a handwriting expert to know who wrote it. I felt the familiar burn in my chest. Anger, sharp and clean. But I didn't flinch. I snapped photos, documented every detail like Miguel taught me. Evidence was power. As I finished filming, a car engine revved. Karen's rust-red SUV crawled past, windows cracked. Her son held up his phone recording me, smiling like he'd just kicked over someone's sandcastle. I ignored them. Public scenes were their battleground, not mine. Inside, I called Miguel. He listened without interrupting. That's vandalism and harassment, he said. Good, let her keep digging. Good, I echoed. You don't win against people like her by backing off. You let them implode. He was right, bullies overplay their hand. By afternoon, the HOA president, a tired man named Doug who had apparently woken up from his long political nap, was at my door. His tie was crooked and his apology stiff. We had no knowledge of this, he said. We're launching a formal investigation. Behind him, across the street, Karen watched from her porch, arms crossed, eyes burning through me like I was the villain in her movie. I let Doug finish babbling, then handed him a printed packet. Every violation notice, every video clip, every time-stamped message, and a police case number. His posture wilted. He knew they were exposed. Later that evening, just as I sat down to finally breathe, a scream erupted outside, shrill, panicked. Karen's son sprinted down the sidewalk, clutching his hand, blood streaking his fingers. Karen followed, wailing his name. Something inside me shifted. Even my anger couldn't ignore a hurt kid. I rushed toward them. What happened? Karen's face contorted. Rage and desperation tangled together. You did this, she spat. And suddenly, the war had changed shape. The ambulance lights painted the cul-de-sac in frantic flashes. The boy sat on the curb, hand wrapped in gauze from a neighbor's first aid kit. His bike lay twisted near a broken section of sidewalk. Cracked concrete I'd reported to the HOA 8 months earlier. They ignored it. But Karen needed a villain, and that was me. He chased him, she shouted at the responding officer. He's been threatening us for weeks. I breathed slowly, grounding myself in the truth. Lies crumble. Facts don't. Check the security camera on my garage, I said calmly. It covers the whole street. I was inside making dinner. Doug arrived, red-faced and sweating. He looked at the broken pavement, the injured kid, the angry mother, and I saw the guilt flicker in his eyes. We never got to repairing that, he admitted. Karen pounced. He's rich enough to fix it himself. He refuses to help this community. I turned toward her, voice low but clear. Your son fell because the HOA you weaponized against me failed to maintain the property. Blame yourself for electing people who let that happen. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. Miguel showed up minutes later, badge visible as his jacket swung with purpose. He spoke to the officers with professional calm, laying out the real timeline. Doug corroborated. Camera footage showed me nowhere near the scene. Karen's false report blew up in her face again. The officer finally approached her. Ma'am, you're being issued a citation for filing a false police statement. Her shoulders crumpled. Her son stared at her, confusion growing into something harsher. Distrust. She screamed at everyone. Paramedics, officers, neighbors peeking from windows. It's him, she wailed, pointing wildly at me. He's ruining my life. Miguel stepped forward. No, you are. They loaded her son into the ambulance. For a brief second our eyes met, and I saw fear there, the kind kids shouldn't know. I nodded once, silently telling him he'd be okay. Karen climbed into the passenger seat, face streaked with mascara, screaming even as the doors closed. The neighborhood watched in stunned silence as the ambulance drove away. And I realized something. She wasn't just losing a fight. She was losing control of her entire world. The following week, everything felt quieter. Not peaceful, just a silence filled with whispers. Neighbors walked by slower, eyes sliding from me to Karen's house, trying to piece together which story to believe. I didn't blame them. Truth takes time to land. That afternoon, I was in the garage wiping down the jet ski's engine casing when I heard hesitant footsteps on the driveway. I turned, and there was Karen's husband, Mark. Tall, hunched shoulders, work shirt still stained with drywall dust. A man who looked like he'd spent years apologizing for someone else's behavior. He kept his hands in his pockets. She's not doing well, he muttered. The police report, the HOA stuff, it's all hitting her at once. I didn't soften. Not yet. Actions have consequences. You know that. Mark nodded, eyes tired. I do. But our son, he's scared of her now. He doesn't understand why she keeps going after you. He paused, voice cracking slightly. She thinks fighting you is the only way to feel in control. There it was. The truth wrapped in exhaustion. I leaned against the workbench. I don't want to destroy your family, Mark. I just want my life back. He exhaled, long and heavy. I know. That's why I'm here. He pulled out a small security camera SD card, the kind that fits into the corner unit on their porch. This has everything from the night of the vandalism. I told her I deleted it. I didn't. He set it on the metal table, eyes glancing toward his house like he expected Karen to burst out screaming. Why give this to me? I asked. He swallowed hard. Because I need someone to stop her, and clearly, you're the only one she can't bully. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The weight of that admission hung between us. A husband asking another man to protect him from his own wife. I nodded once and took the card. As Mark walked away, shoulders still heavy, I realized the landscape had shifted. This wasn't neighbor drama anymore. It was a family unraveling. And now, I had the leverage to end Karen's crusade for good. But ending a war doesn't mean there won't be casualties. I loaded the SD card into my laptop that night. The screen flickered, then the footage began. Grainy but clear enough. Karen and her son creeping across my yard, spray cans glinting under the porch light. The boy hesitated, looking around nervously. Karen shoved the can into his hand and pointed at my driveway like she was ordering him into battle. When the paint ran out, she did the final smear herself. The word thief dripped like venom. Then she spotted my security camera and dragged the kid away in a full sprint. No more denials, no more illusions about who the victim was. I emailed a copy to Miguel, then printed still frames. Timestamps stamped bold in the bottom corner. Evidence. Unshakable. The next morning, I walked to her house. My pulse was steady, not from lack of fear, but from certainty. Karen opened the door with a fast, fake smile. "If you're here to harass—" I held up the still photos. Her voice died mid-sentence. Color flushed up her neck. Her fingers trembled against the doorknob. "You forced your son into vandalism," I said. "You blamed me for his injury. You lied to the police." She snatched the photos from my hand, eyes darting desperately over each image. Then she ripped them up, shredding the paper in frantic strips. "That doesn't prove anything," she snapped, but her voice cracked. "It proves everything," I said, "and if you escalate one more time, just one, I'll file for a restraining order. Then detectives will be knocking on your door." She stared at me, chest heaving. The bravado was gone, replaced by panic. The mask had slipped. "You don't understand," she whispered. "If people think I'm a bad parent, if they think I'm unstable—" Her eyes glistened, but these weren't tears of remorse. They were the tears of a collapsing ego. I leaned closer, keeping my tone controlled. "The only way this stops is if you stop. Right now. No more lies. No more harassment. No more trying to take what isn't yours." For the first time since this all began, Karen looked afraid of me. Not because I threatened her, but because I no longer feared her. She tried to speak, but no words came out. I turned and walked away, feeling her stare drilling into my back. Behind me, the door shut slowly. Not a slam this time, a surrender. The neighborhood meeting was scheduled for that Thursday night. Supposedly a safety discussion. Everyone knew it was about Karen. The clubhouse buzzed as I walked in, people whispering like bees in a hive that just smelled smoke. Chairs scraped, eyes followed me. For once, their attention wasn't suspicion. It was expectation. Karen arrived late. Makeup thicker than usual, as if she could paint confidence over the cracks. Her son trailed behind her, head down, sleeves tugged over his hands. Even he understood the weight of the moment. The HOA president, Doug, cleared his throat. "We need to address recent disruptions," he announced. His voice wobbled. He wasn't built for conflict. Karen sprang up before he finished. "This is persecution," she barked. "I have served this community for years while he—" She stabbed a finger toward me. "Has done nothing but divide and destroy." Murmurs rippled. Some shook their heads. Others stared at her, uncomfortable, unsure which story to believe. I rose slowly, no theatrics. "Let's walk through the facts." Miguel stepped forward at my side, crisp suit, legal precision in every movement. He placed a manila folder on the table. "These are the official police reports," he said, voice carrying authority. "Documenting the unauthorized removal of my client's property, false accusations, harassment, and vandalism." Doug flipped through the pages, each one sounding like a gavel strike in the quiet room. "And this," Miguel added, clicking a remote, "is video evidence from Mrs. Parker's own security camera." The projector lit the wall. Karen's face appeared on screen, caught red-handed, literally, spraying my driveway while her son looked on, frightened. Gasps swept the room. A few people covered their mouths. Karen lunged for the power strip, yanking the cord, screen going black. "You can't show that," she screamed, voice breaking. "You can't make everyone hate me." "No one needed help with that," I said calmly. She froze. Her eyes darted wildly, searching for defenders. There were none. Doug spoke softly. "Mrs. Parker, effective immediately, you are banned from all HOA involvement. You will repay damages, and any further retaliation will involve criminal penalties." The verdict hung in the air. Karen's shoulders sagged. Her son tugged her sleeve, a quiet plea to stop. Instead, she pulled away and stumbled out, alone, leaving silence behind her like a cold draft. For the first time, the neighborhood wasn't afraid of her. They were done with her. The neighborhood slowly exhaled after that night. Lawns got greener, kids played at the cul-de-sac again. The quiet wasn't just silence. It was relief. I finally did what I'd meant to do since the day the jet ski arrived. Early Saturday morning, I backed the trailer down the ramp, the sun throwing gold streaks across the bay. I eased the Yamaha into the water, the engine purring like a caged animal finally freed. But before I climbed on, I saw someone approaching. Mark. Hands in his pockets, as always, but his posture was different. Straighter, like a man who'd finally chosen a side. "She's getting help," he said quietly. I nodded. "That's good." He looked at the water, blinking against the morning glare. I should have stepped in sooner. She needed support, not permission. I respected him more in that moment than any time before. Owning failure takes grit most people don't have. "How's your son?" I asked. A small smile tugged at his mouth. "Better. He wants to apologize. To you." "He doesn't owe me anything," I said. "He was just trying to make his mom proud. I get that." Mark nodded, the tension in his shoulders easing. "Thank you." We shook hands, solid, genuine, and he walked back home, leaving me with a view of calm water and a clear sky. I stepped onto the jet ski. The seat felt perfect. The engine rumble deepened as I throttled forward. Spray hit my face. Cool, clean, earned. This was what I worked for. This was what she tried to take. I carved waves along the shoreline, the wind turning victory into something almost peaceful. And as I cut through the water, I thought about everything that led here. A woman convinced the world owed her something. A community that stayed silent too long. A family almost broken by control and entitlement. And a man, me, who refused to be bullied. When I finally slowed near the dock, engine idling, the jet ski bobbed effortlessly like it belonged in the water all along. I looked back at the neighborhood. Sun glinting off windows, no eyes accusing me anymore. The war was over. I wasn't just vindicated. I was free. If this story hit home, smash like, because defending what's yours begins with one choice,